Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Racha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Revelation chapter 17. And this was something that was on my spirit yesterday to do. I didn't get around to it. I was trying to gather some information. And Lord's will, this will be an edifying lesson, Salakia. Lord's will, this will be an edifying lesson. When we read the book of Revelation, as you may have heard Elder Pastor Tar say in the past, which is true, that the book of Revelation pretty much is the same story told in different ways, different fashions, different forms, different symbolisms. So when you read it, you're thinking you're reading about something else because it may not say the same thing as said in the previous chapter. But that's not the case. It's pretty much the same story, the same prophecies, just told in different fashions. Parabolic, if you will. All right, so we're just going to get right into it. Revelation 17. It says the doom of Babylon. This is Babylon the Great, because we know that ancient Babylon was already long gone at this point. So this was a new Babylon, and this new Babylon, or doom of Babylon, is talking about America, which is known as Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon, spiritually known as Sodom and Egypt, also known as Nineveh, and many other names in scriptures of great empires in the past that mirror, that America mirrors their ways today, and that's why they're heading for destruction. So Revelation 17:1, and there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. So the judgment is what? Lake of fire, destruction, nuclear missiles, and the lasers from the chariots. So this whore, the reason why she's called a whore is known for what? For laying down with many men, right? For money. So, or not. And when it says sitteth upon many waters, that's talking about many different nations. And America is known as what? The great melting pot. Revelation 17:15, and he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. Okay? So that's why I said the woman sat upon many waters. When you look at America, America is a beacon for many different immigrants of many different, places around the world. You had Ellis Island. When you go to Ellis Island, which is where the Statue of Liberty is, that was the place where the immigrants would go to first before they stepped on the mainland. All right, so America is a great melting pot, and that's what is known as the great melting pot. When we read the second verse, it says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. Now the kings of the earth represent all of the different world rulers. Doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that has the title of a king. It's all of the world rulers, no matter what they call themselves, Kaiser, Caesar, Premier, President, whatever. All of the rulers or the kings of the earth have committed fornication. Fornication pretty much is adultery, whether it's spiritual or physical. In this case, it's spiritual, right? And this is, it says, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk. Why? Because the kings or the rulers of the earth that have gone to bed with America and accepted of her philosophies and her ways have pushed it upon the people of their lands. That's why it says, as the judge of the people is, so are the people. It says, with the wine of a fornication. So the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of a fornication. What is the wine of a fornication? You have democracy. You have the American way. And the American way encapsulates a whole lot of stuff, from sexual depravity to being dressed like a complete slut or a mole, to having that reprobate lifestyle of moism and lesboism, so on and so forth. And there's a term which you have Hellenism, Romanization, I believe it was, and you have Americanization. Americanization is the influence of American culture and business on other countries outside of the United States of America, including their media, cuisine, business practices, popular culture, technology, or political techniques. And as you can see here, this is China. And what do you have here in China? Lo and behold, you see the Chinese writing, and what do you have there? A McDonald's. I wonder if they eat with chopsticks. All right, and this is a direct this is direct influence from this American government, Americanization. However, it is also used as a pejorative, which is like like talking down to somebody, or like a byword, Let me just show you. I can't, think of a word to. It says expressing contempt or disapproval. Okay, so it's like looking down on somebody or expressing contempt or disapproval, because that's like they say, you acting just like those Americans, So it's really like a, like a thing of shame, to shame someone. The dude, I don't know if it was I think it was one of the producers, one of the Moabite producers, when Bruce Lee was making the movies, and I forget how it went down. I believe he got rejected in America. Something happened where he got either rejected in America, or they didn't show him enough love, or something along those lines. And pretty much the producer was pretty much saying that you're in other words, he was starving for the attention of America, so he was under the influence of that Americanization. It says, also used as a pejorative term by critics who oppose American influences. See? And this is what they've done. This is that cup of the wine of a fornication, which the rulers of the earth, the kings of the earth, have accepted this, committed fornication with the harlot, and has also introduced that same way to their peoples. And you could read on. It says Hollywood, the American film and television industry, has since the 1920s dominated most of the world's media markets. Right, and that's how they do it. They do it through the radio. They do it through the television. They do it through advertisement, magazines, newspapers. This is how they spread their propaganda. It says the top 50 highest grossing films of all time were all made entirely or partially in the United States. Coca-Cola, previously the top global company by revenue, is often viewed as a symbol of Americanization, giving rise to the term Coca-Cola diplomacy for anything emblematic of U.S. soft power. Fast food is also often viewed as being a symbol of U.S. marketing dominance, and it is. Companies such as McDonald's, Burger King, Pizza Hut, Kentucky Fried Chicken, should put KFC, and Domino's Pizza, among others, have numerous outlets around the world. Of the 10 top global brands 2017 by revenue, 7 are based in the United States: Apple Inc., Google, Microsoft, Coca-Cola, Amazon, Facebook, and IBM. And by the way, IBM, I believe it's International Business Machine or something like that. When they first started, they had something called a tabulating system, which that's where you get the word keeping tabs on somebody. And that was the beginning stages of this tracking thing that they got right now, the MOTB, which is a CHIP. That was the beginning stages of it. All right. First there were punch cards, then eventually it graduated. You had the punch cards at the job, to keep track of your time and all that. Now they've elevated it to biotechnology, which, by the way, Biden, during the time of the Queen's death, he signed an executive order dealing with bioeconomy. How's that? Everything is leading towards the evidence that the CHIP is the MO to the TB. All right. So going back, it says, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast. The woman is America. How do we know? Let's go down to the last verse, Revelation 17:18. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And who has a major influence on the people of the earth? America. What nation is making the merchants of the earth rich? America. It's not the Vatican. It's not ancient Babylon. So who is it? If you're being honest with yourself and you're being truthful, you have to say America. The world is being influenced by American ways. We just read about Americanization. The world is being made rich through selling their wares and their goods here in America. And the reason why it calls it a great city, not just a city, a great city, because a city is as big as their citizens. If you are born in America or naturalized in America, you are considered what? A U.S. citizen. The word citizen goes back to citizenship or goes back to city. You know? Which is the people. Matter of fact, I had looked that up years ago. Let me just pull up another tab. I believe I've looked it up here. Stop being fresh. Right, citizen, inhabitant of a city or town, from Anglo-French city dweller, town dweller, citizen, French citizen, modern French citizen, from site or city, Anglo, alien, private person, civil affairs, citizen, arrest. There was something let me see this right here. I would have to go back into it. I forgot what it was that I actually looked up. So Lord's will, if I get a chance, I'll go back over that. So that's the great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth, America. So this woman that sat upon a scarlet colored beast, the scarlet colored beast is a red beast, which is the same beast we read about in Revelation 12, Revelation 13, this same chapter, Revelation 17, and others, dealing with this beast. And the reason why it's called scarlet color or red, or the red horse, is because they are the red people, the Edomites. The word Edom goes back to the Hebrew word Adawam, which means red. They are the original red people. All right? So it says full of names of blasphemy, because they claim to be so-called Christians. They claim to be the Heavenly Father. They claim to be the Heavenly Father's son, Yahweh and Yahushai. They claim to be the angels, the Israelites. They're over there in England posing as kings and queens, as if they were the ruling peoples of Europe, which Jake ruled Europe for a period of about 1,000 years. And prior to that, the Edomites had it. But prior to that, you had the dark-skinned or brown-skinned Japhetic people. That's why when you check out history and you're looking up history of Greece or Rome, which goes back into ancient history, you could only go back so far, because few years prior to that, to whatever empire you're looking up, you had the Etruscans ruling, you had Minoans, you had the Picts, you had other Japhetic people that were brown-skinned people that were ruling in those regions prior to them being conquered by the Greeks and the Edomites, Romans and all of that. All right, it says having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now these 7 heads and 10 horns is a representation of their 7 major empires. And the 10 horns are 10 European nations that today make up, the EU, which now they're, I don't know if they're like 27 or whatever the case may be, but it goes back to the original 10. Now, I forgot what brother it was. I think it was the Elder Karatazar out of Vegas that did a lesson on it, and he brought out, I believe he brought this out. Was it this Western European Union? He had a actual site that he went to, or that he had, where you had actually 10. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which really Spain and Portugal are one. I believe in Ireland and UK are one, United Kingdom, Scotland. So it's one of these down here that make up the 10. So it's Belgium, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Spain, which Spain and Portugal together, United Kingdom, and one of these down here. I'm not sure if it was Denmark or Sweden. I forgot which one it was. It's been a while. So those are the original 10. But when you go back in the history, you had the 10, but they were under ancient names. Now I got this here. Now all of these articles I put in the description box. So if you want to go back and look to it, this is I believe that's ESN writings. It says the Great Empires of Prophecy from Babylon to the Fall of Rome. Here we have chapter, what is that? 46. Chapter 46. The 10 kingdoms. The 10 stand at one time. Mede's list of kingdoms, Sir Isaac Newton's list of Bishop Newton and Chandler, Hunnish Empire extinguished. It goes on and on and on. The conclusion. It says, we have now described the origin, traced the course, and marked the establishment of the 10 kingdoms that arose upon the destruction of the Western Empire of Rome. The 10 are the Alemanni, the Franks, that's 2, the Burgundians, 3, the Suevi, 4, the Vandals, 5, the Visigoths, 6, the Saxons, 7, the Ostrogoths, 8, the Lombards, 9, and the Heruli, 10. These are the 10 ancient names of those empires back then during the time of, the Roman Empire. All right. So today they just have different names, but they're still in the same regions, so to speak, of so-called Europe. All right. So today they go under the modern day names, as we just read here. Belgium, France, Germany. Like Alemanni are the Germans. You had the Gaul, which were the French. You had the Saxons, which was the British. And so on and so forth. Okay. So going back. Oh, before we go to that, now we're moving along. I forgot to hit that scripture, but that's all right. Moving along, we got the 7 heads. Now the 7 heads is a representation of 7 major Edomite empires, all right, around the world, which are so-called European, which are really Edomite. So the main, because when you go into the history of Greece, like I said, Greece goes back to different times, and you had Japhetic people, brown-skinned Japhetic people ruling in these regions. So you can't count that as part of Esau's empire because it wasn't them ruling. Now, when Alexander the Great came, his father Philip II, they were the ones that began to start to take over the rulerships of the world, the empires of the world. So when we go to 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and 1, it says, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece. So he's the one that united all of those Greek states, them Edomites, to come and join battle to go out there and conquer the known world. Why? Because it was their time. So when we read about Alexander the III of Macedon, commonly known as Alexander the Great, was a king of the ancient Greek kingdom of Macedon. He succeeded his father Philip II to the throne in 336 BC at the age of 20, and spent most of his ruling years conducting a lengthy military campaign throughout Western Asia and Egypt. By the age of 30, he had created one of the largest empires in history. This is why they say civilization started with the Greeks. Why? Because that civilization that they're talking about is a civilization, of the Edomites. Their legend, which is nothing but rape, robbery, and murder. Now, you did have kings among the Edomites back in the past, but they didn't have empires until the time of Alexander the Creep. This is when they really started to get empire status. This is why the scriptures speak about the 7 heads. So it says, stretching from Greece to northwest India, he was undefeated in battle and is widely considered to be one of history's greatest and most successful military commanders. And you can read more of this. Like I said, I put these in the description box. Next would be the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire was the post-Republican period of ancient Rome, because when they were established as a republic, and I believe that goes back to the Etruscans, which were Japhetic, brown-skinned Japhetic people. And once Julius Caesar came into power, the Roman Republic ceased, and the Roman Empire began. All right, under these Edomites. It says, as a polity, it included large territorial holdings around the Mediterranean Sea in Europe, North Africa, and Western Asia, ruled by emperors. From the accession of Caesar Augustus, which was the second emperor, which was, I believe he was the nephew of Julius Caesar, as the first Roman emperor, to the military anarchy of the 3rd century, it was a principate with Italy as the metropole of its provinces and city of Rome. As its sole capital, the empire was later ruled by multiple emperors who shared control over the Western Roman Empire and the Eastern Roman Empire. That's when it was split. The city of Rome remained the nominal capital of both parts until AD 476, when the imperial insignia were sent to Constantinople following the capture of the western capital of Ravenna by the Germanic barbarians. Why? Because it was time for them to fall. The adoption of Christianity as the state church of Roman Empire in AD 360 and the fall of the Western Roman Empire to Germanic kings conventionally marked the end of classical antiquity and the beginning of the Middle Ages. Why? Because that's when Jake was ruling. And they were ruling right after Domitian. Right after like around 96 AD or whenever that devil died, the next emperor was, I believe that was Nerva. He was a Jake. And from that point on, Jake ruled. But the problem was that Jake was still ruling under them old pagan ways of the Roman Empire. So it was Jake ruling, but it was under a pagan way of the pagan Romans. But then once Constantine came in around 325 AD or so, a little before that, but around 325 AD when they had the Council of Nicaea, that's when his mother, prior to that, had convinced him to make the Roman Empire, accept Christianity, so-called Christianity. And he was a pagan, so he incorporated so-called Christianity with pagan practices, all right, to be able to, accommodate everybody, the pagans and the Christians. And from that point on, it became known as the Holy Roman Empire, okay? It says, because of these events, along with the gradual Hellenization of the Eastern Roman Empire, historians distinguish the medieval Roman Empire that remained in the eastern provinces as the Byzantine Empire. So this was their second empire. And when this empire came into power, eventually it fell. And this is why in the book of Revelation 13, it says that it was wounded One of the heads were wounded, as it were, to death. But then they came back later. And when they came back later, they came back under the modern European nations. But then America became like the capital, which is the revival of the ancient Roman Empire. And she took on all of the same customs and ways of ancient Rome, which that's where you get the term, the image of the beast. Let me see, citizen, a person owing loyalty to and entitled by birth or naturalization to the protection of the state or nation, the American Heritage Dictionary, Con. All right, so moving on. Now you got Spain, the Spanish Empire. The Spanish Empire, also known as Hispanic monarchy or the Catholic monarchy, was a colonial empire governed by Spain and its predecessor states between 1492 and 1976. Because remember, these devils started getting into power around the 1300s, mid 1300s or so, into the 1400s. And by the time they got into power, they were able to, especially after 1492, when they came over to the side of the world, they were known, Spain and Portugal were known as the first empire to govern the world. I believe we have that here. Let me see. Yep. It says the Portuguese and Spanish empires were the first global empires because they were the first to stretch across different continents, discounting Eurasian empires, covering vast territories around the globe. All right. So it says one of the largest empires in history. It was in conjunction with the Portuguese, the first to usher the European age of discovery and achieve a global scale. Controlling vast portions of the Americas, territories in Western Europe, Africa, and various islands in Oceania and Asia, it was one of the most powerful empires of the early modern period, becoming known as the empire on which the sun never sets, and reached its maximum extent in the 18th century. All right, you could read more if you would like. Next would be the French Empire, which you have French colonial empire, history, the Americas. During the 16th century, the French colonization of Americas began excursion of Giovanni da Verrazzano, that's where the Verrazzano Bridge in New York is named after, and Jacques Cartier. As well as the frequent voyage of French boats and fishermen to the Grand Banks of Newfoundland throughout that country, were the precursors to the story of France's colonial expansion, but Spain's defense of its American monopoly and further distractions caused in France itself in the latter 16th century by the French wars of religion prevented any constant efforts by France to settle colonies, right, because they were involved in many wars. Early French attempts to found colonies in Brazil in 1555, in Rio de Janeiro, and in Florida, including Fort Caroline in 1562, were not successful. Yeah, because they were involved in many wars. And then remember, in the 1800s, I believe it was either the late 1700s or beginning in the 1800s when you had the Haitian Revolution. So they had their hands full, and they were not able to defend, like they wanted to. They couldn't extend their empire like they wanted to because of all of these different wars that they had going on. And you can read more. This is another one of the heads. Then you had German Empire, which you had Germania Major and Germania Minor back then. But like I said, you had all of those different ancient names as we read in the other article. So German Empire. The German Empire, also referred to as Imperial Germany, was the period of the German Reich, from the unification of Germany in 1871 until the November Revolution in 1918, when German Reich changed its form of government from a monarchy to a republic. Now, when you go back into the ancient world, these same territories were conquered by the Romans. You know, they had these different nations in that area in subjection. You know, and then they came back into power later on, as we read in here. It was founded on 18 January 1871 when South German states, except for Austria, joined the North German Confederation, and the new constitution came into force on April 16, changing the name of the federal state to the German Empire and introducing the title of German Emperor for Wilhelm I, which I believe he was the father of Wilhelm II, which is the Apollyon in Revelation 9, King of Prussia, and the House of Hohenzollern, Berlin remained its capital, and Otto von Bismarck, Minister President of Prussia, became Chancellor, the head of the government. As these events occurred, the Prussian-led North German Confederation and its southern German allies, blah, 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 blah. Just trying to see if it gave a little bit more, but you get the idea. All right, now let's move on to number 7, because you have Greece, Rome, Spain, France, that's 4. Germania Major, Germania Minor, that's 6. And here we got the 7th, the British Empire. Britain's imperial century. Because remember, back then they were known as Britannia, and they were conquered by the Romans. So all of those territories were under the Roman rule at one point. It says between 1815 and 1914, a period referred to as Britain's imperial century by some historians, around 10 million square miles. Our territory were added to the British Empire. Victory over Napoleon left Britain without any serious international rival other than Russia and Central Asia. Unchallenged at sea, Britain adopted the role of global policeman. And this is when they took the power. And then they had also the British pound, which became known as the world reserve currency at the time, which surpassed the Dutch, which the Dutch had their form of money. I forgot what it's called. That was the world reserve currency prior to the British pound. Then in 1944, under the Bretton Woods Agreement, that's when the American dollar, the FRNs, became the dominating money of the world, or the world reserve currency. A state of affairs later known as the Pax Britannica, or British peace, and a foreign policy of splendid isolation alongside the formal control it exerted over its own colonies, Britain's dominant position in world trade meant that it effectively controlled the economies of many countries such as China, Argentina, and Siam, which has been described by some historians as an informal empire. British imperial strength was underpinned by the steamship and the telegraph, new technologies invented in the second half of the 19th century, allowing it to control and defend the empire. By 1902, the British Empire was linked together by a network of telegraph cables, blah, 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 blah. All right. And then eventually in 1944, when the American dollar became the world reserve currency, that's when the British Empire was no longer the head. You know, that's why it says when he comes, he shall continue a short space. All right, so you get the gist. You know, you got the 7. Greece, Rome, Spain, French, Germania Major, Germania Minor, and Britain. And America is the 8th head that came out of this. As Lord's will, we're going to read in this chapter. So as we read on, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color. Why? Because America was set up as a beacon of light to the world. And that beacon of light to the world got to America's head, so to speak. That's why in Isaiah 47:1 it says, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon, America. Sit on the ground, there is no throne." Right, you're not going to have that lofty position anymore because you're losing status. So before these devils go down, they're going to lose that world status, that world power, that world domination. And this is what we're witnessing right now. You know? Like in Isaiah 14, it says, "Art thou become weak as we?" I believe that's Isaiah 14. All right. It says, "O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate." Right. You're not going to be living that fanciful life. You know? Now, when we jump down to the let's see. Let me see something. Hold on for a second. Okay. So that must be in Revelation 18. Just bear with me 1 second. Right, Revelation 18:7. "How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow." And this is what they believe in their heart of hearts. That's why it says, "And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet colors." So she was like a queen. And what is a queen known for? She's known to be a harlot. Decked out, she sleeps with whoever she wants. She, talks shit to whoever she wants. Right? It says, "And decked with gold and precious stones and pearls." Yeah. "Having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication, which she's caused the other nations," these kings of the earth, "to drink, which they caused their citizens, their peoples to drink." And what happened? It made them mad. Right here. Jeremiah 51:7. "Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad." They're bugged out. They're drunk. And you could see it just by their actions. Americanization. Anywhere you go. Guantanamo Bay. Look at that. McDonald's in Guantanamo Bay. Ain't that about a bitch? McDonald's in Ashkelon with Hebrew writing. McDonald's. Starbucks in Xi'an, China. Ain't that about a something? Burger King in Ankara, Turkey. Not Istanbul. They eat burgers over there. They eat Burger King. Man, your man ain't right. He eating Burger King. Inside joke. Koç University, one of the top universities in Turkey, is based on the American model. The university also has an American football team, the Koç Rams. So this devil's influence has surpassed, and passed on the whole world. Revelation 17:5, "And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery." So this is a mystery. This is why many people can't break this down. You go to somebody that hasn't gone to school, they can't learn it. You go to somebody that has gone to college and tell them to break it down, they can't break it down. Why? Because it's spiritually discerned. It's only given to the elect of Yahweh B'Shem El Shai, of the nation of Israel. It's not given to all people. That's why all people can't get this, because what? It's a mystery. It's a mystery, folks. So the mystery is what? Babylon the Great, the greatest conglomeration of confusion. And America is that. Because the word Babylon goes back to the Hebrew word Babal, which means confusion. Because here you have all different types of languages spoken. You have all type of madness going on here. You know, you brothers have been out there on the streets when you're speaking in the ambulance and police car cruisers and all that, everything, all that noise and all that confusion. You know, streets are all fucked up. I mean, this place is ripe for destruction. So Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. Why is she known as the mother of harlots? Because in America, you could worship whatever you want. You could find an ant, you know, a white ant, if there's such a thing. And you could make up a whole religion about a white ant. And you could worship that. And it's allowed. You could open up a church, the White Ant Church. You know, you can get a pet rock and worship that pet rock. So it's the mother of harlots. Because whenever you... Damn, what's this? Is the same demon coming back over and over again? My goodness. These scoffers, boy. Must be something must be saying something right for all these scoffers that come out the woodwork. You know? But here, you know, you could worship anything you want. Be anything you want. Right? And then the final part of it is, and abominations of the earth. What is an abomination? Well, the Moism. You know, that alternate lifestyle. Now, old demon from before with a new page. Okay, hey, well, those are those scoffers. In the last days, scoffers shall come. You know, false prophets gonna come. So hey, bring it on. An abomination of the earth, because that's what they push. They push that lifestyle. So America is a big ball of confusion. Mother of harlots, because they allow you to worship anything. And abominations of the earth, you know, which are, they push those ways that are not good. They push the P to the Edo, you know, and they're cursing people out for calling them P to the Edos. You know, you got to call them maps. You know, because they're making it, you know, they're softening the blow for acceptance. Because this is where the ruling class elite, so-called elite of this world, this is where they get their rocks off on. You know, some get their kicks from champagne. Inside joke, Salakia. You know, and that's where they get their energy from. You know, that's where they get their demonic spiritual vibes from. You know? So this is it. Now, when you go into this phrase, Babylon the Great, the phrase the mother of harlot, and the phrase abominations of the earth, that breaks down in the Hebrew numerically to 666, which is the number of this devil. Now, there's a video here that the Spirit had me do years ago. Elder Pastor had mentioned someone should do a video on it. And this is the video I did. It's on the same channel. I put it in the description box. And I go into it. It's called Re-Upload, Revelation 17:5. And through the Spirit, you know, broke down how each of these Hebrew words or letters have a numerical value to them when you go and research it. And each phrase breaks down into 666. Like you have Babal, Hagadawala, Babylon the Great. And then each letter has its numerical value. So you take all those letters and you add them up and you come up with the number 87. Now 8 plus 7 is what? 15. And 1 plus 5 is what? 6. So that's the first 6. Then you have mother of harlots, Ama Zawanwath. You know, the lie is just 2. So really that the Hebrew language is straightforward. So all you would need is just Ama Zawanwath, mother harlots. And then when you break all of these words down, because how I did it was each letter, I didn't go from you read it from left to right, but when I wrote the numbers down, I wrote them, you know, according to each one of the letters that you see there. So when you put all these together and add them up, it adds up to 510. Now 5 plus 1 plus 0, what? Equals 6. That's your second 6. Then you have abominations of the earth. Washa Kwawataza Ha Arataza. And the Ya, you remove that out of the way. You don't have to, use that. So the Wa, Sha, Kwa, Wataza, Ha'arataza, that's abominations of the earth. You add all those up, adds up to 798. 7 plus 9 plus 8 equals 24. 2 plus 4 equals 6. So you got your 666. And there's right here. See, this is the chart. You got A and you got Tha. From A to Ya is 1 through 10. And everyone else after that, all of the letters go up by 10. And then once you get to 90, the last 4 letters go by the 100. Kwa, 100, Ra, 200, Sha, 300, Tha, 400. All right, and that's how you break down Revelation 17 and 5. All right, so it says, and I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints. Yeah, America. They destroyed the Gadites, the Reubenites, the Issacharites, and the rest of the tribes. But mainly here on North America, they destroyed mainly those 3. Because sometimes people speak about America belonging to the so-called quote-unquote Indians, but they leave Issachar out. Remember, they had control of the southern half of America before they were pushed out by the Spaniards. So you had Reuben, Gad, and Issachar. And then you had Judah, Benjamin, Levi that were brought over to the side of the world. Then eventually you had other tribes migrating up into North America, Babylon the Great, all to fulfill prophecy. And with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua, and when I saw her, because the people that you see here, the Israelites that you see here, a lot of them were back then in Jerusalem, especially Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Because she had to be a sight to see. She probably was a very attractive woman, had nice curves and, everything, this, that, and the other. And the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. It says, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. Who is this? This is America. America is the beast that thou sawest, because it was in his vision, but it wasn't at that time. And it's not. Why? Because it really wasn't there yet. And shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. And that's where America came out of the bottomless pit. And when America came out of the bottomless pit, through the 7, which she became the 8th, what happens? And go into what? Perdition, destruction. So when America was set up, after the short rule of the British Empire, she was set up to pretty much bring about what you see in the world today and eventually be destroyed. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. Why? Because when this beast's deadly wound was healed, all the world wondered after the beast. We was even caught up in that at one time until the Lord woke us up. So the ones that are not written in the book of life, they're going to stay wondering after the beast. When they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. Right, America. And here is a mind which hath wisdom. So now the angel is going to break it down. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. Mountain represents what? A government. In this case, an empire. Because it goes on to say, and there are 7 kings. Kings rule empires. It doesn't necessarily have to be an actual king with a crown on his head. It's talking about someone that's sitting in that rulership position. Now, in the case of Alexander the Creep, he was an actual king with a crown on his head. But in the case of Julius Caesar and the rest of the Roman Caesars, emperors, they didn't have crowns on their heads. And when you see the world today, most of these nations that are ruling don't have crowns on their head, but they have figureheads that are the leaders or heads of those particular, nations. Whether they call themselves premiers or whatever they call themselves. 5 are fallen because these, when you go back, the Romans had conquered these back then. And the five that were fallen are what? The Greeks, the French, the Spanish, Germania Major, and Germania Minor. And they were under the rule of these Romans back then, right? It says, and the one that is what? That's the Roman Empire, because it was ruling during a time when this was written. The Apostle John was a captive of the Roman Empire. It says, and the other is not yet come. Why? Because it will come way later on in these times. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space, which we read here about Britain. They became the global police, right? Between 1850 and 1914. Then eventually in 1944, that's when, goddamn, man, these devils are coming out the woodwork, huh? Then in 1944, they lost world reserve currency status. You know? Oh, Lord. Wow. Anyways, so this is when Britain fell, pretty much, even though behind the scenes they're still running things through the Rothschilds. But then America became what? The dominant force of that empire, because they took over the world reserve currency status. And when they took over that, they became the head of over all nations, as we read in Revelation 17 further down, the last verse. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Then it goes on to say, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth, as we read above. The beast that was, and then it goes into perdition. So the eighth head that's going to come out of the seven, of all seven of them, and is of the seven because it comes out of all seven of those. And what goeth into perdition? And we see all the signs playing out. The MOTB signs are there. Wars, rumors of wars, pestilence, famines, uproars of the people. We see all of this going on. So we know that our Lord Yahushua is close for this place to go down. So we're witnessing the very end of this empire. And just like people have said in the past, when the different empires were ruling in the past, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, the Medes, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, and all that, they never thought that they would go down, ever. Because they had such an influence and a dominating stranglehold on the world that they thought that they would never go down. And what happened? They went down. It's no different with America. It says, in the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which means 10 rulers, which have received no kingdom as yet, but received power as one hour with the beast. And this union, they got their power during the time. Well, they first started trying to get their charter in March of 1957, but then they actually got it and were established January 1st of 1958. And they were known as the EEC, or the European Economic Community, which later was changed to the European Union. Now they have many members, but back then it wasn't like that. Back then they started off with 6, and then eventually others were added to it. But when the building, the headquarters building in Brussels, Belgium, was set up or established, which it was set up with as a stylized cross, which was the peace symbol, which means the two the two arms of the cross were broken off. They erected 10 flagpoles outside of that building. But after that, it went further. Now you got the flag with the 10 stars. with the 12 stars on it. But those 12 stars are really 10, because Spain and Portugal are one, and then Ireland and UK are one. Because you got UK, the United Kingdom. That's I believe that's British, the Irish, and the Scottish, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So that's that. So going back, which have received no kingdom as yet, but received power as kings 1 hour with the beast, right? And that hour was up around the year 1999, 2000. You know, so they're living off of borrowed time right now. So it says, these have one mind, right? And shall give their power and strength unto the beast. Yeah, because they're going to come together with the other European nations, which make up NATO, which all of those 10 are part of NATO, and they're going to come together and fight against America. Because you see what's happening right now, and it's always like that. Whenever America makes a decision, it only benefits America. It doesn't benefit those other allies of hers. That's why eventually they're going to get tired of her and blast her off the map. You can read Obadiah for that, you know, and we're going to read on here, and it says that. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. So they're going to come together and fight against Yahushua when he comes out of space. They're going to be fighting against each other, and then all of a sudden they're going to see the Lord coming. They're going to be like, oh, shit, what the hell? And they're going to be terrified to where they're going to be petrified, meaning they can't move, but then the Lord's going to put the Spirit on them to fight so he could demolish them. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful, which are the angels. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. Why? Because America puffs at these nations. They're allies, but America pretty much acts like they say, like their shit don't stink. And pretty much, you know, looks down upon the rest of these so-called European nations, even though they're all the same people. They're all Edomites. He's an Edomite, Doc. Just trying to see. All right, here. Daniel 7:20. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, before whom 3 fell, that was dealing with the European Union, America, and the 3 horns that fell, which is the British, the Spanish, and the French. Even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows, because they looked down upon these other nations, these other European nations, which they're supposed to be allies with. They're supposed to be, you know, ain't the saying one for all or all for one? Rob, stout, great figure of power, like exalted, stout. And they look down upon them. You know what? Let me go back. Right. Brave, bold, firm, determined, obstinate, uncompromising. See? They're uncompromising. Because they're supposed to have a say in this thing. But if America don't want something, it ain't going down. If America wants something and the other ones don't want it, guess what? It's going to go with what America says. So their look is more stout than their fellows. All right? It says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Because they're going to use those nukes on America, even your own allies. So it's not just Russia that's going to get you. Your European nation allies are going to get you. China is going to get you. India, Pakistan, all them nations that have missiles are all going to be shot over here. For the Most High hath put it in their hearts, put in their hearts to fulfill his will. Remember, the king's heart is in the hands of the Lord. And to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. And they will be fulfilled, because this prophecy is sure. And it will go down very soon. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. To the next time I say, Shalom.